श्री सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय.
Nobody knew his parents, place of birth, or his religion. Who is Sai Baba of Shirdi and where did he come from? Baba flew into a rage, abusing people. The dhuni raged. He threw his clothes into the dhuni and her flames leapt higher. His hair flowed free and his eyes were aglow. He became Digambar. People were awestruck and blinded by that great, naked, godly body of Baba emanating spiritual light, and no one could see him. Slowly, Bhagoji Shinde bravely came forward and tied a new langot around his waist. Baba struck the flames of Dhuni Mai with the satka, saying, Sabur, Sabur, Sabur. 2 years later, in the year 1918, on Vijayadashmi and Simo Langan Day, Baba took Samadhi. That Vijayadashmi, he stood naked, revealing the truth that the One Supreme is beyond man-made identities of caste and religion. His message is clear. All paths lead to him who is both Ram and Rahim. His divinity could not be hidden by the seemingly normal life he lived among the simple village folk of Shirdi in their humble dwellings and in the dusty village streets. Instead, he rendered these people immortal and these places sacred. In Baba's Darbar of the 1940s and 50s, Parsis would worship the Dhuni as their sacred fire or attar. Christian nuns would flock to Shirdi to their saint god Sai and surrender their lives in service to his people and to him. Sikhs would flock to their Guru to the shouts of Vahe Guru, and Muslims would offer namaz and pray to Sai Baba in their ways. Baba is a great unifier of faiths who appeals to all. Looking at his origins, his daily life, his routine, his interactions with people, we try to understand him and his remarkable ways as a perfect master, a Parabrahma. Why is Sai of Shirdi such a phenomenon, growing in influence each passing year? Does he still speak from his tomb? There are several accounts and theories about the birth and early years of Sai of Shirdi. We rely primarily on 2 texts. The Sri Sai Satcharitra is a biographical account of Shirdi Sai Baba, written by Govind R. Dabolkar, or Hemat Pant, as Sai Baba named him. Hemat Pant's Satcharitra has been blessed and sanctioned by Baba and is therefore considered his word. The Sri Sai Satcharitra describes Sai Baba as an avatar of Dattatreya, the first spiritual teacher.
Any incarnation of the God comes with certain purpose and certain goals. As far as Baba is concerned, to know about his origin, we have to go back in the history about 13th or 14th century, where Sripath Sri Vallabh, the second incarnation of Lord Dattatreya, he himself clearly told that in future I am going to come again in human form in central part of India in Dhishila Nagari. That time Shirdi was named as Dhishila Nagari. And in the Dhishila Nagari, I will come in a human form in Yamana Rupa, means as an Islamic disciple.
The book declares that Sainath's incarnation will be one in which Lord Dattatreya will manifest as Samartha Sadguru, the all-knowing teacher who will chant Allah Malik. And so it comes to pass that God lived here in Shirdi as a Samartha Sadguru, the all-knowing teacher who chanted Allah Malik and lived in a mosque, who knew the sacred Vedas and the Holy Quran and allowed celebrations of Urus and Ram Navami. Sai Baba himself was ambiguous, cryptic and often angry when asked about his birth, his religion or caste. He cared not to answer if he was a Hindu or a Muslim. Let us bow before him who is perfection incarnate. Around the year 1854, Sai Baba manifested in Shirdi, a small village in the Indian state of Maharashtra. Shirdi in the mid-19th century was a tiny village with around 200 small dwellings connected by typical narrow village paths, and possibly 1,000 villagers lived there. The nearest permanent market was in Rahata village, 5 miles away. The primary source of water was from a nearby well, and 2 chowdis or small halls served as resting places for visitors and as meeting places for village elders. The young boy looked about 10 or 12 years old. He would sit under this neem tree in meditation or wander in the surrounding jungles in a divine state. He was mindless of hunger or thirst, of the cold or heat. He is divinity, said some. Pagal or mad, thought some others. Why did Baba choose this particular neem tree? It is here that the folk of Shirdi uncovered an underground cell with 4 lamps burning, the entrance to which was closed by a quern stone. Baba himself said, "This is my Guru's seat and my most sacred legacy. Listen to me this once and preserve it as it is." Baba lived thus in Shirdi, under the neem tree and in the jungles, in a divine trance or meditative state for most of the time. It was Baizabai Kote Patil who would find him, wait for him to descend to human consciousness and feed him. After about 4 years, Sai disappeared from Shirdi and returned 4 years later as part of a marriage procession. Several theories abound on where he was for those years, but Baba himself provided no account. When he returned, the young fakir came here to the Khandoba temple, the 12th century temple on the outskirts of Old Shirdi. Mahalsapati, the temple priest, welcomed him, saying "Ya Sai" or "Welcome Sai." It was Mahalsapati who gave Shirdi Baba the beloved name of Sai, a name used to address Sadhu Auliyas or Sufi fakirs. Mahalsapati suggested that Baba settle in the old mosque nearby. Refused shelter in the temple and led instead to the mosque, Baba then went on to name the mosque Dwaraka Mai. Dwaraka in the Indian state of Gujarat is commonly acknowledged as the ancient kingdom of Lord Krishna. By embracing the masjid as Dwaraka and as Mai or Mother, Baba opens her doors to all. This is one of those many defining moments where he makes clear his mission as one of unifying our faiths and destroying the mistrust between Hindus and Muslims, among castes, and indeed of all that divides us.
To know about Sai Baba's avatar, God's coming in human form, one has to understand the situation of that era. In the name of religion, this society was divided into several castes, sects, creeds. So, to reunification or reuniting all those people, Baba's avatar have come to spread a message that सबका मालिक एक है, Allah ईश्वर एक है. And this was the very purpose of Baba's coming in, Baba's avatar took place.
In the initial years, Sai Baba kept largely to himself. He was uncommunicative and withdrawn. He seemed to have preferred the company of other ascetics and awliyas in the masjid or chowdi and sometimes in the Maruti temple. He loved music, dance and devotional singing. People would sing qawwalis and bhajans with tabla and sarangi in front of Baba. In initial years, people recall that he stayed in the takiya or resting place for Muslims, and later, after he started residing in the mosque, he would visit the takiya. At the takiya, he was absorbed in music and in God as Al-Rahim, the Compassionate One, or Krishna. People heard him sing in languages unknown to the villagers, possibly Arabic, Persian, or English. He would tie bells to his ankles and dance gracefully to the rhythm of the tambourine in ecstatic joy. He used an old gunny sack as his seat and as his bed and would not discard it for anything more comfortable. In the beginning, Baba would wear a white head cap, a clean dhoti round his waist, and a long shirt. He looked like a wrestler and kept his hair long. Later, he adopted the kafni or long flowing robe, langoti, and headcloth, which he tied gracefully behind in a knot.
बाबा स्वतःची कपडे कधी बदलत नव्हते. तात्या पाटील आल्यानंतर ते त्यांची कपडी ओढायचे आणि फाडायचे. त्यानंतर बाबा ती जुनी कपडी स्वतःच्या हाताने परत शिवायचे आणि तीच घालायचे.
Gradually, the young lad, divinely absorbed and oblivious to his surroundings, receded to make way for the more adept and loving Guru. As Baba settled in the masjid, he became adept at living in two states. Other saints would forget their bodies and surroundings, retreat to samadhi and return. But for Baba, this was effortless, and he remained in inner absorption always, even while conscious of the material world. He was omniscient and omnipresent. In the year 1886, Baba left his body in the care of Malsabati and returned after 3 days to live among us in his physical form for another 32 years. We owe a great debt to Malsabati. Baba himself offered no explanation for his 3-day samadhi. Slowly, he began to wander less and less in the jungles. He moved about in the day, but returned to the masjid at night. His interactions with the village folk increased. He began the practice of bhiksha or alms seeking from 5 houses in Shirdi. His possessions were few. The power of Baba's dhuni or sacred fire, his magical chillam or pipe, and his satka or stick are extraordinary. Udi, the sacred ash from Dhuni Mai, confers material, medical, and spiritual benefits. A puff from his chillam would heal diseases and confer spiritual bliss. His satka commanded the elements. He became well known for his powers as Hakim, a medical healer or herbalist. In the early years, he would use herbs to heal. In later years, he would use Udi, heal with his blessings or touch, or heal with his mystical, love-filled glances. No one could comprehend the extent of his extraordinary greatness. He charged no fees and restored health to many. Baba used to sit under the neem tree or sometimes under the babol tree near the stream. In the afternoons, he would wander in the village.
He would generally never leave Shirdi, but sometimes he would walk here to Neemgaon, which is a mile or so north of Shirdi, to meet with Baba Saheb Dengle. Trayambak Dengle was a chieftain who had a 2,000-strong infantry. His fortress had a lookout tower, and when alerted about enemy troops, he would take the women and children to this well in Neemgaon, which had a tunnel which led up to Rui and to safety. It is said that there are many tunnels even now in Shirdi, with one going from Gurustan all the way to the Chowdi. It was at this well in Neemgaon where Baba would wash his feet before heading to Shirdi to the Khandoba temple. Sometimes Baba would come here to the village of Rahata, 3 miles south of Shirdi. He would visit Chandraban Sheth Marwadi in this house. After his death, Kushal Chand Sheth looked after the business. Sai Baba was very fond of him and would visit him and invite him to Shirdi. Baba often brought with him small plants of jasmine and marigold from his visits to Rahata. He watered and cared for them. A flower garden grew, and today on this site stands Baba's Samadhi Mandir or temple. Baba liked to light lamps in the masjid. The first recorded miracle or Leela performed in public by Sai Baba was in 1892 when the oil traders refused to supply oil to Baba. He then turned water into oil to keep his lamps burning. The Hindu practice of lighting lamps every day seeks to remind us that to remove darkness or ignorance and attain God, who is symbolized by the flame, one needs to pour the oil of faith and devotion. Christians too light candles by way of worship. Baba has eternal lamps in Dwarakamai and Lendibag, which even today are never extinguished. Baba would be in front of the dhuni early in the morning, absorbed in contemplation, and now and then people would hear sacred chants. In the early days, Madhavrao Deshpande had heard Baba murmuring in English too. After a few hours, and as yet very early in the morning, he would smoke his chillam with Bhagoji Shinde. Later, some select devotees would massage Baba's legs or render any other service. Baba would smoke his chillam regularly and pass it around to those who were near him. Being in his presence was being with divinity. Bhagoji Shinde, who suffered from leprosy, would hold Baba's umbrella and be with him always. His fingers had shrunk, his body was full of pus, and yet he was inwardly happy. It is thus with Baba. Contentment and peace resides in all who are absorbed in him, and sorrows and joys both lose their grip on us. Baba would not bathe with water every day, but he would wash with plenty of water. Devotees said it was entertaining to watch Baba put plenty of water on his hands, feet, mouth, ears, and wash himself in a very delicate manner. Sometimes he would call the Baba Bala to shave his head or trim his beard, paying more than was due for that service.
We call Baba as Rajadi Raja Yogi Raj. What is called Yogi Raj is a master of yoga. And Baba on n number of times has shown his yogic power. Once upon a time, his body was found in the several parts spread over in Dwarkamai, lying his legs at one part and these hands at other part, and etc. Everything. That is called Khanda Yoga. Baba was a master of Khanda Yoga. One person, one of his bhakt, saw this and he was afraid that somebody has killed Baba. When he came back, he saw that Baba is again in reunited form. When once he was taking bath, and people at that time, very senior people, they saw Baba taking his intestine out, washing it and putting it on a gawa tree. And again, after some times, he got it back, he put it, just closed it as if nothing has happened. Only a master of yoga can do this.
Later, devotees would sometimes enjoy his grace by offering service to him.
बाबा नियमितपणे 5 घरी भिक्षा मागायचे आणि ती ठरलेली ठिकाणं असायची. पण यात एक विशेषता होती. कोणाला हे विक्षिप्तपणाचं वाटेल, परंतु बाबा ज्या नियमित 5 घरी भिक्षा मागायचे, तिथे कोणत्या वेळी कधी जातील याचा काही धरबंध नव्हता. बाबा द्वारकामाईतून बाहेर आले, उजव्या साईडला वामनराव गोंदकरांचं घर आणि डाव्या साईडला सखाराम शेळके पाटलांचं घर. अगोदर शेखराम शेळके पाटलांच्या घराकडे ते बघायचे, सांगायचे, ए रोटी लाव म्हटलं की दोन्ही घरच्या बाया बापड्या आपलं ते त्यांना जे काही बाबांना भिक्षादान करायचं ते आणून द्यायच्या. बाबाकडे एक चौकोनी असा रुमाल टाईप मोठा रुमाल असा कपडा असायचा आणि त्या 4 त्याचे जे शेंडे त्याचे एकमेकाला बांधून त्याची झोळी करायची बाबा आणि डाव्या आपल्या बगलेमध्ये ती लटकवायचे. जे काही म्हणजे सुखे किंवा पदार्थ आहेत ते सुखे म्हणजे रोटी भाकरी भात वगैरे ते बाबा झोळीत घ्यायचे आणि बाबाकडे एक टमरेल असायचं. जे काही भाजी किंवा पातळ पदार्थ जे असतील ते त्या टमरेलात घ्यायचे. तिथून पुढे बाबा एक 50-60 पावलावर पुढे बयाजी अप्पाजी कोते पाटील, ज्यांच्या खांद्यावर बाबांनी आपला श्वास सोडला, ते बयाजी पाटील यांच्या घरी भिक्षा मागायचे. घरापर्यंत नाही जायचे, त्यांच्या एक काही अंतरावर उभे राहायचे आणि त्या घरापासून 3रं-4थं घर हे जे असायचं हे बाबांची लाडकी बायजामा, त्यांची आई, त्यांची माता ते म्हणायचे, कन्सिडर करायचे अशी बायजामा, तिचं घर हे म्हणजे गणपतराव कोते पाटलांचं घर. तिथे उभे राहून बाबा मोठ्याने आरोळी द्यायचे, रोटी लाव, आणि मग तिथून त्या 2 घरांच्या बाया बापड्या त्या घेऊन यायचा जे काही बाबांना भिक्षा द्यायची आहे, भिक्षादान ते द्यायच्या आणि बाबा मग अगदी ताजिम खान बाबाच्या दर्गापर्यंत जायचे. तिथे काही क्षण थांबायचे, तिथून परत यायचे आणि परत आल्यानंतर येताना 5वं घर जे असायचं ते असायचं नंदराम सकलेच्याचं. द्वारकामाईपासून अगदी 5-10 पावलावर बाबा तिथे जायचे. नंदराम फंदराम लोटी लाव मोठ्याने ओरडायचे बाबा आणि मग त्याचे घरचा तो भिक्षा एकदा स्वीकारली की मग द्वारकामाईच्या समोर आज ज्या ठिकाणी ती शिळा ठेवलेली त्याच ठिकाणी बाबा बसायचे. त्यानंतर ही सगळा जो जमा केलेलं जे भिक्षा आहे आतमध्ये कोळंबा, त्या कोळंब्यामध्ये सगळं ते आलेली भिक्षा आणि आपल्याला 2 वेळेला पुरेल, सकाळ संध्याकाळ किंवा संध्याकाळची एकची भिक्षा यायची, सकाळची बाबा ते खायचे. दुसऱ्या दिवशीच्या नाश्त्यासाठी असायचं. त्यातल्या 10-12 भाकरी तर ती मशीद साफ करणारी जी बाई आहे जमालबी ती पण घेऊन जायची. कुत्रे कावळे पक्षी चिमण्या मांजरी जे काय पोटाला लागेल ते घेऊन जायचं. पूर्ण ही जो भिक्षा प्रदक्षिणा आहे बाबांची, हा जो रूट आहे हा रूट बाबा अनवाणी काहीही पायात चप्पल न घालता कोणताही काळ असू दे, हिवाळा पावसाळा प्रखर उन्हाळा, बाबा पायात काही न घालता चालायचे. अशा पद्धतीने शिर्डीची ती पवित्र पावन भूमी, देव जो भूवरी चालला, असे बाबा त्यांनी ती पवित्र आणि पावन करून ठेवली.
One must find God everywhere, within himself as well as without. When he does so, he will find that he alone is everywhere and at all times. Sitabai Tharkad saw a hungry dog and fed it. When she went to see Baba, he said, "Eating that lovely bread, I am heartily contented." The dog which you fed is one with me, so too are all other creatures. Baba would meet visitors from 8:30 a.m. onwards. Often, Baba would eat a part of a fruit and give the rest as prasad. Baba would offer mangoes or coconuts to couples who came to him for children as a blessing, and unfailingly, the childless became happy parents. He could see all, predict and foretell, appear in dreams and in different locations. This power is called Siddhis in Hinduism and Firasat in Sufi Islam. His Leelas are innumerable and take place even now. Publishers and filmmakers can't seem to keep up. After seeing visitors in the morning, Baba would walk down to the Lendi stream and gardens, accompanied by some devotees and a musical band, to the music of the Lalkari. The band and devotees would disperse, and Baba would spend an hour in solitude in the Lendi Bagh or garden.
साई बाबा के साथ हाजी अब्दुल बाबा 1890 से लेके 1918 तक 29 साल थे। बाबा के साथ रहते हुए बाबा की खिदमत करते थे, बाबा को कुरान पाक की तिलावत पढ़ के सुनाते थे, मस्जिद की सफाई और दिया बत्ती का काम हाजी अब्दुल बाबा करते थे।
हाजी अब्दुल बाबा नांदेड़ गांव के रहने वाले हैं, जलगांव डिस्ट्रिक्ट के तापी किनारे गांव है उनका। वहाँ अब्दुल बाबा रहते थे। वहाँ उनके एक अमीरुद्दीन फ़कीर थे, उनके गुरु थे। उनके सपनों में साईं बाबा गए और उन्होंने उनको 2 आम दिए, वो भी पके हुए आम थे। उनकी सिराने से रख दिए और नींद से उठे तो अब्दुल बाबा को बोला, क्या साईं बाबा ने आपको बुलाया? अमीरुद्दीन फ़कीर ने बोले, क्या साईं बाबा ने आपको बुलाया, आप साईं बाबा के पास जाओ। साईं बाबा नांदेड़ गांव से शिरडी में आए और बाबा के मस्जिद द्वारका माई में आए और बाबा ने उनको बोला, अब्दुल बाबा को देखने के बाद बोला कि मेरा कौवा आ गया।
बाबा के समाधि के बाद 1918 से लेकर 1954 तक अब्दुल बाबा फिर अपने संसार प्रपंच में बीवी बच्चे में नहीं गए, बाबा के साथ ही रहे। यहाँ पर बाबा के शिरडी में ही रह के बाबा की समाधि की सेवा 36 साल करते रहे। रोज़ाना बाबा के समाधि के फूलों से सजाना, वहाँ पर फातिहा पढ़ना, और ये खिदमत आज भी हम लोग कंटिन्यू कर रहे हैं। रोज़ाना हम सुबह 9:30 बजे बाबा के समाधि मंदिर में जाते हैं। साई संस्थान के लोग भी बहुत इज्जत और इकराम के साथ हमें बाबा के समाधि के पास खड़ा करते हैं। फिर वो समाधि को फूलों से सफाई करके फिर उसके ऊपर हम इत्र वगैरह लगा के फूलों से समाधि को सजाते हैं। ये पूजा आज भी हमारी उसी टाइम से कंटिन्यू चलती आ रही है और ये बाबा की ही कृपा है कि वो बाबा हमसे ये खिदमत करा के ले रहे हैं।
After his walk and time in solitude in the Lendi gardens, the band would accompany Baba back to Dwarka Mai, where he would stay till 2 in the afternoon among visitors, allowing them to serve and worship him in ways that gave them satisfaction.
1910, 7 December, Wednesday, Shirdi. Sahin Sahib spoke with such wonderful sweetness and he smiled so often and with such extraordinary grace that the conversation will always remain engraved in my memory.
Baba would then have lunch, and after lunch would remain in solitude for an hour. Later, devotees would arrive for the afternoon darbar. He would then leave the masjid and go back to Lendi garden to walk for about 45 minutes to communicate with nature. He would return to Masjid Mai and stay there till sunset.
तात्या पाटलाचं आणि बाबांचं असं नातं होतं की ते मित्र सुद्धा होते. बाबा ते तात्याला गुदगुदला करायच्या. मग तात्या पाटील हसायचे. तात्या पाटलाला बाबांनी मग नंतर मग तात्या पाटलाचं एवढं प्रेम, बाबा त्यांना स्वतः फेटा आणून द्यायचे, स्वतः घालायचे. इतकं त्यांचं ते प्रेम होतं.
Mystical were his ways, and it is difficult to understand the true import of this seemingly childish behavior. He would also spend this time to mend the tears on his kafni and roll the old and unusable cloth of his head cap and kafnis into wicks for the many lamps he lit. Devotees would assemble in the evening to seek his blessings. Sai Baba was unpredictable. Joyous or serious, quiet or talkative. All his actions were significant and of love, and he cared not to explain them. At times, he would fly into a rage and hurl abuses. Baba would sometimes cook food in the masjid. He liked to cook and serve his devotees. This he started to do in later years. Baba himself ground the ingredients and pounded the spices on a stone slab and added them to the cooking pot. He took great pains to make the dishes very palatable. He would roll up the sleeve of his kafni and put his bare arm directly into the boiling cauldron and churn the whole mass from side to side and up and down. There were never any burn marks, nor did Baba ever show any fear or pain. Baba had the food consecrated by the Maulvi. He sent part of the food as prasad to Mar Sapati and Tatya Patil, and then served the remaining food with his own hands with love and reverence. The handi cooking stopped by 1900, as devotees would bring so much food to Shirdi to be blessed, and this was served as sacred Naivedya to everyone. In the early years, Baba would not accept money, and when he did, he would just take a few coins. From around the year 1908, Baba started the practice of asking for and accepting dakshina. Facing south with his left hand resting on the wooden railing, he always uttered Allah Malik. Sripada Swami describes Allah as energy and the force which moves energy. Allah Malik is one among the 99 holy names of Allah. Al-Ghazali describes this holy name as the one who is independent of all existing things, but everything in existence is dependent on him.
The poet saints of the Bhakti movement equally stressed on Nam Smaran or Nam Jap. Nam Smaran is used as a purifying practice so that the heart may be cleared of all but God.
Janabai, who worked as a help in Saint Namdev's house, used to chant all her life. Such were the depths of her chants that all she touched chanted with her. When a lady held the cow dung cakes Janabai had patted to her ears, she could hear the Lord Vittal's name from them. Baba spoke of the power and importance of chanting and held the Vishnu Sahasranam, or the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu, the God of preservation, as all-powerful.
द्वारकामाईमध्ये बाबा आपल्या भक्तगणांना जो उपदेश किंवा ज्या काही लीला सांगत असत, ज्या कथा सांगत असत, त्या दिवसभरातून 3 सत्रामध्ये सांगत असत. यालाच बाबांचा दरबार म्हणतात. बाबांचा दरबार दिवसभरात 3 सत्रामध्ये विभागला जाईल. सकाळी बाबा लेंडी बागेतून परत आल्यानंतर, दुपारचं जेवण झाल्यानंतर आणि संध्याकाळी साधारणतः धूप आरतीनंतर किंवा अंधारवाल्यानंतर जेवणापूर्वी, संध्याकाळच्या जेवणापूर्वी अशा 3 सत्रामध्ये बाबांचा दरबार भरत असे. बाबांच्या दरबारामध्ये जे कोणी भक्तगण बसलेले असत, प्रत्येकांच्या आपल्या काही समस्या असायच्या, पण बाबांना जेव्हा ते बोलताना ऐकत प्रत्येकाला असं वाटायचं नाही, बाबा नाही आपल्यालाच उद्देशून बोलत आहे. अशी बाबांच्या दरबाराची महती आहे.
His teaching was of an experiential nature. He would send devotees on errands or ask them to perform certain tasks through which they would grasp the spiritual lessons he sought to teach as a sort of a ha or eureka moment.
1912, 17 January, Wednesday, Shirdi. Sain Baba showed his face and smiled most benignly. It is worthwhile spending years here to see it even once. I was overjoyed and stood gazing like mad.
Great was the faith and worship of the first devotees of Baba. Das Ganu, who sang and spoke of Baba, absorbed in him as God. Dabolkar, who became Baba's voice in the Sat Charitra. Nana Sahib Chandorkar, who like Saint Paul, spread Baba's name far and wide. Bapu Sahib Bhuti, who was the embodiment of humility and never spoke in Baba's presence, always looking at his feet alone. Kaka Sahib Dikshit, the embodiment of unwavering faith and obedience to Guru. Nulkar and Nimonkar, who saw Baba in all things, animate and inanimate, and to whom Baba granted Satgati or deliverance. Sagun Meru Naik, who made sure no one went hungry in Baba's Shirdi. Radha Krishna Mai, Baba's Maya or illusion, who resided in his heart. Kashi Ram or Upasani Maharaj, whom Baba molded to perfection. Tatya Koti Patil, who Baba loved beyond life itself. Vaizabai, Tatya's mother, who fed Baba all his life. Malsapati, who like Saint Francis of Assisi, willingly embraced poverty and his God. Nanavali, who in grief gave up his life on the 13th day of Baba's Samadhi. Lakshmi Pai Kapardi, who saw Baba in all creatures. Madhav Pasle, Balaji Patil Nevaskar, and Abdul, who took care of Baba's physical needs, warming his bathwater, sweeping the streets, and embodying Dasya Bhakti, or devotion expressed through service. Shama, who chanted Sai's name even in deep sleep. Hari Vinayak Sate, Bala Sahib Dev, Rege, Avasthi, Vaman Patel, Dr. Pillai, Mungi, Purandhare. Numerous are the devotees who surrendered their all to Baba. We named but a few. He loved the company of children and encouraged them to play and held them on his lap. At other times, he would unpredictably hurl the choicest of abuses, even beating devotees with his satka, which he always kept nearby. Even Baba's anger and abuse were blessings in disguise. When he physically hurt someone, it would elevate them to higher planes of spiritual progress.
1912, 7 January, Sunday, Shirdi. In the morning, I got up early and attended the Kakad Aarti. Sain Maharaj looked exceedingly pleased and gave yogic glances. I passed the whole day in a sort of ecstasy.
A Guru's grace or anugraha is bestowed on a disciple by a mere look, a touch, or mantra or chant. Baba himself has spoken of being in spiritual bliss conferred by his Guru while being suspended in a well. The Sri Sai Sat Charitra beautifully explains the symbolic significances of this as an experience of Samadhi, when the senses are turned inwards by the grace of the Guru and the disciple experiences divine bliss and joy. In a sense, we are all suspended in a dark place. Sorrows and fears plague us, and our efforts to remove them often fail. It is then that our faith is tested, and if we do not fail, then Baba does not fail us.
की एक दिवस सावडीमध्ये आणि एक दिवस द्वारकामाईमध्ये बाबा झोपायला जाऊ लागले. आध्यात्मिक पातळीवर याचा विचार केला तर बाबा असं का करत असत असा प्रश्न प्रत्येक भक्ताला पडणं साहजिकच आहे. बाबा हे यतिधर्मी संन्यासी होते. त्यांनी यतिधर्म स्वीकारलेला होता हे सर्व श्रुत आहे. नाथपंथीयांचा प्रभाव आणि सुफी धर्म संप्रदायाचा प्रभाव बाबाकडे होता. या धर्मामध्ये एक नियम आहे की कोणत्याही यतीला, कोणत्याही संन्याशाला एका ठिकाणी 3 दिवसाच्या वर राहता येत नाही. आता शिर्डीचे आपली भौगोलिक रचना पाहिली तर तुमच्या एक लक्षात येईल की पूर्वी बिरेगाव आणि शिर्डी हे दोन वेगवेगळी गावं होती आणि आत्ताची जी चावडी आहे ती चावडी ही बिरेगावाच्या परिसरात बिरेगावाच्या शिवारात येत होती आणि द्वारकामाई ही शिर्डीच्या शिवारात येत होती. एक दिवस चावडीमध्ये मुक्काम आणि एक दिवस द्वारकामध्ये मुक्काम हे करत असताना बाबांनी आपला संन्यास धर्म आपला यती धर्म पाळलेला आहे आणि त्याच्याच द्योतक म्हणून बाबा एक दिवस शिर्डीमध्ये आणि एक दिवस बिरेगावात राहत होते.
आमचे आजोबा तात्या कोते पाटील, साईबाबा आणि म्हाळसापती हे तिघं एकत्र रात्री द्वारकामाईमध्ये झोपायचे. एकमेकाचे पाय एकमेकामध्ये घालायचे, गुदगुल्या करायचे, रात्रभर झोपायचे. कोणी झोपू येते कोणाला बोट लावणे कोणा आमकं हे असा प्रकार हे करायचे. हसत खेळत येत राहत होते.
For years he would lie down on the mud ground in Dwarkamai, using only rags and his sackcloth. The devotees would then worship him in various ways, which Baba accepted as their love and desire to serve. His every action, word or gesture, daily routine or behavior was of significance, too mystical and of other realms for us to grasp fully. He blessed and healed, taught and guided. His leelas were unbelievable and not of this world. His presence radiated love, compassion, bliss, peace, contentment, and more. Baba thus lived amidst us for about 60 years.
बाबांनीच नंदराम शेठच्या बायकोला म्हणजे माझ्या बाबांनीच असं सांगितलं होतं त्यांच्या महानिर्वाणापूर्वी की सोनीच्या आईला मी सांगितलंय, सोनी म्हणजे माझी आत्या, ती मनमाडला शिंगवे या गावी दिली. तिच्या आईला म्हणजे माझ्या आजीला राधाबाईला त्या बाबांनी सांगितलं होतं की जिथे आता समाधी मंदिर आहे ती हद्दोडीची जागा माझी राहण्याची जागा आहे आणि मी या ठिकाणी येणार आहे असं बाबांनी हे त्यांच्या महानिर्वाणापूर्वीच अगोदरच माझ्या आजीला म्हणजे राधाबाईला सांगितलेलं होतं.
In 1916, on Vijayadashami Day and Simolangan, he revealed himself as Digambar and indicated that his time to cross over was imminent. In time, he gave many other indications and made the necessary preparations as well. Among the first preparations he made was to build and arrange the resting place for his physical body. It was Bapu Sahib Bhuti who, through dreams and visions, was entrusted with building Baba's Samadhi. Sai Baba never fussed about the things which he wanted to accomplish, but he so skillfully arranged the circumstances and surroundings that the people were surprised at the slow but sure result attained.
One evening, 4 months before Baba's Samadhi, he ordered for 4 chickens to be brought as guests were to come. Imam Bhai and Appa Bhil hid behind the curtain and witnessed a ball of light 12 inches in diameter stream into the masjid and rest at the niche or nimbar. It broke into innumerable fragments, brilliantly lighting up Dwarakamai.
Baba sent Qasim and Imam Bhai Chote Khan to Shamsuddin Fakir. Shamsuddin Fakir, through his wisdom, knew all. Baba himself cooked and sent food which was offered to fakirs and maulvis. Baba sent a garland of chrysanthemum flowers and a message to Hazrat Banne Mian through Qasim. He raised his eyes to the sky and tears rolled down his face. Sai Nath also followed the Hindu practice of reading the Ram Vijaya to show us that one must withdraw from worldly matters and focus on the spiritual. After 3 readings across 14 days, Mr. Vaze was exhausted. So Baba let him go and abided in his self. Baba suffered from a fever. Till the 12th of October, 2 days before his Samadhi, he continued to seek bhiksha from the houses, leaning on the support of others. Vijayadashami dawned. It was the 9th day of the Muslim month of Muharram, and that night was the night of slaughter. Baba said that he did not feel well there in the masjid and that he should be taken to the Dagadi or stone wada of Bhuti, where he would be all right. As per the lunar calendar, the 11th day or Ekadashi began. It was the 15th of October. Baba did not fall down on the ground, nor did he lie down, but sitting quietly on his seat and doing charity with his own hands, he discarded his physical body. Baba says, "Look to my feet with faith and patience. Come with all your pride, faults and ego. My lap is always there to comfort and care for all your needs."